y'all. We gonna get into it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Vanna. I am the host and creator of the Hood Talks podcast. I consider us a community podcast because we out here bringing all of the conversations around what's happening in our community. When I say our, I mean people that look like me. So if you look like me, I'm talking about us. But we got allies. So we appreciate all the allies as well, because you can come learn and listen and hear, right? Right. Yes, right? Come be in the room, learn and listen. It's okay. Y'all can come too. All right. So we're going to get into it because today we're talking about food and health. I'm struggling with this one. I'm going to be honest. I keep it real and raw on the Hood Talks podcast. I'm struggling with the food and health, but we still got to have the conversation because we got to educate. We got to learn new things and get rid of old things, right? And that's what we all about. So I'm going to let my panelists, I'm going to let you all introduce yourself, and then we're going to get into the conversation, okay? I would say if you all would love to take the mic off, it would be easier so that you all can pass it to each other. I'm going to go here. Gabby, start with you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gabby Cole. I am the executive director and co-founder at Fit and Food Connection. We are a local nonprofit that addresses health concerns in northern St. Louis City and County, and we do that through food access, physical exercise, and wellness. Thank y'all.
My name is Pat Pendleton, and I am from Centennial Christian Church, and I am coordinator of the Hunger to Holiness Food Ministry. The food ministry is comprised of 5 programs, so we're more than just a pantry. We do pantry, hot lunches, fresh vegetables, bags on the street. So we're very excited about that.
Is it on? Testing, testing. Hello, everyone. My name is Ariana Blakemore. I am a certified plant-based nutritionist, an herbalist, and a farmer. I am the CEO and founder of Ancient Healing Root, where I focus on ancient tools and techniques to heal the body naturally through mind and body techniques, food as medicine, and herbal remedies.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Leah Pulliam. I am the executive director of Growing Food, Growing People, where our mission is to grow food and people through healthy food accessibility and interacting with the soil. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you.
So as y'all can see, we got a great lineup, right? We got from all walks of the food spaces. So we finna dive into this juicy conversation. I'm excited, y'all, because I can't wait. So I want to start by kind of talking about when we talk about food and health, right? How what we eat impacts our body, our health, our mental, all of those, our physical. Can you all kind of speak to some of that? Like, what is it predominantly here in the Black community that we're consuming that is causing us harm when we're eating it? So anybody want to take that for me?
So we are consuming hot fries and Cheetos and cheese fries and everything that you can get from the corner store besides healthy vegetables. Everything that you can get from the corner store that does not fuel your body. We're eating processed food. We're eating packaged cupcakes and muffins and putting them in our children's lunch and book bag and sending them off to school and expecting them to last throughout the day. And I'll stop right there because I'm sure the rest of the panel could go deeper on that.
What are we consuming, specifically in our community, that is causing harm to our bodies when we're talking about food and health?
Exactly what Leah said. and it's very convenient to do that. We serve a young lady who asked for $1 to go get White Castle or whatever. And I say to her, go cook, go home and cook something. And so, but the other is very convenient. And I think we use that as a real good excuse.
Anybody else want to say something to that? Because I was going to say convenient, but also that's all we sometimes have access to when we look at some of our communities. But go ahead.
All right. I don't think it's food that we're consuming. It's really substances. It's really substance abuse. So a lot of the narcotics or the sugars, the sweets, the dairies, the cheeses that give us that spike, just like drugs do. So it's not necessarily food that we have access to. And that's what's really depriving us of the life that we live.
He said substances, because we know that sugar is very addictive. Dairy, sugar, I would say that's probably the most, I'm strung out. Oh, Lord, I got a chokehold. Not even that, but carbs, which breaks down to sugar. So, yeah, I would say that is very addictive. Sugar is very addictive. And what you said, it just hit me about a spike, right? You get that high, that good feeling, and then you crash. And then if you crashing, what happens? You going back to the high. Yeah. Anybody? Gabby, you got anything to say?
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of the things that we consume. So I know we are here talking about food, but I think by design, our communities that are predominantly Black people are designed for us to be not well. So when we think about chronic disease and the relationship that we have with our food, I think that's just a piece of it, but consumption can be a lot of things. It can be the things that are around us. It can be the mindset. It can be stress, the lack of mobility and physical exercise that really impacts our mental and physical well-being. And so when we look at these communities, we see the lack of clean streets and safe sidewalks and traffic stops, clean, nice parks, affordable, fresh, whole foods. And then, it gets layered. But I think that's a great starting point, the things that we consume in general. Then we talked about convenience. I think it's a culture, right? Essentially, like, we're looking at Black communities, and that's what we see. We see fast food, we see corner store, liquor store, and now some of those are even like going away. So we're looking at like the absence of food in general. And we can go down the economics road, but that's kind of where we are with the design and the convenience with our culture with food. And so when you think about that, shifting that is a huge mindset thing, right? Like, we have to think about and be intentional as people in this space, as leaders, as community members, as residents, whatever we want to call ourselves. How can we be a part of some of these solutions and the intent behind keeping our people sick and not well and woke to, what's around us? It's like second nature, right?
She said a lot, didn't she? What I got a lot of, too, was environment. Food is a part of the environment. And if we're talking about a lot of what she said, right, your community is not safe. So say, for instance, you can't walk to the store, first off, right? And then if you do walk to a store, it's the corner store. Your grocery store is probably miles away. So then you're just going to go to the quick corner store that we know they frying chicken in the back, right? And all the other things, processed foods, burgers and fries. And you gonna go take your money, or let's be honest, maybe your stamps, and you gonna go get that food that's right there. Because if you're a mom, you know, hey, I've been working 8 hours. I'm exhausted. I gotta feed these kids. The quickest thing for me to do is to what? Go to the gas station, buy that chicken, feed them kids, so I can get a minute to myself, right? And then we'd be like, oh, she just lazy. And that is come on, sis. Say it louder for the people in the back. That is the design. And that's what we are up against. Because if you think about it, a long 8-hour workday, then you got to come home and give energy to children, maybe even a partner. Then I be yelling, self-care, where? Where's the self-care? So, or even I'd say, y'all come on, join this conversation. I know y'all got some stuff to say, right? Because even if you think about it, maybe you don't even have the utensils to cook a meal. You breathed heavy. You got something to say?
Okay, I think about what we were saying about by design, and I think about us as a race of people. By design, we worked fields, we ate fresh vegetables, we ate fruit. I mean, we did not, by design. Well, but they didn't have fast food back there then. But so by design, I think we were brought up to eat the right stuff and to eat healthy. And somehow during the course of, as we changed, we bought into the new design. And so I am so glad to see you ladies, because we need the help that is being offered by Back to Fresh Food, growing your own food, you know. We need to change the design. So the design now is about us, and the design is what's good for us. And so I'm learning so much here. You good. I appreciate that. I appreciate the comments, because I think about my culture growing up and then where I am now, and it's a design that I've bought into. Mm-hmm. And so I've got to change the narrative of that. We have to change the narrative.
Hello? Okay. I love the narrative. Well, so when I'm approached by women and we're talking about growing food and we're talking about, oh, I have a black thumb. I hear that all the time. Gabby, do you hear that all the time? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you hear that all the time, Ariana, as a farmer? I hear that all the time. I have a black thumb. I can't grow anything. But I will not buy into that, because this is who we are. That is what we came from. Growing our own food, being with our grandmothers, shucking peas and doing all the things. So this is who we are. Sometimes we just need to be reminded of how great we are and the greatness that we came from and what we are capable of doing. And growing our own food is what we've always done, and what will take nothing for us to get back to, because at this point we don't have a choice. So it is very important for us to leave that story behind that we have been convinced to believe, that we have this black thumb that ain't even a thing, and get back to what we know works, and that's growing our own food.
Yeah, Leah and Miss Pat. Thank you. Bring it home, because we do come from, like, you know, our ancestry and our lineage. We come from people and communities of people that grow, right? That heal, that bring things to life. And so it's within us being Black women up here to, return and change that narrative. So yes, things have been by design by our, officials and community leaders and people of wealth, but how can we as people, redirect us, redesign it, right? How can we start to add to the culture and start individually or in smaller communities, smaller groups to change that narrative, because it's absolutely possible. I think the culture has shifted. I think the culture in the 90s and the early 2000s we came to a place where it was about convenience and fast. And so now we're trying to return to this slow food movement where it's how do we understand the process of our food from the time it's in the ground to the time it's in the store, to the time it's in our homes, to the time it's in our bodies, and what does that process look like of it breaking down? And how can we, live like that, and how can we speak to that narrative versus the other thing, right? We know what's happened. We know what's in our communities. How can we say, okay, what is the resistance to that? It is us working within our neighborhoods, with our people, on self-sustaining food systems. And that's a great start. I love it.
You said we done brought into the new design. And when you said something that I was thinking about is wealth. Because if you really think about it, we were already given all of the things that we needed, right? But somehow we've been told and informed that we had to go into getting all the other things, right? So then when you're chasing all the other things, now you no longer have the ability to slow down because you're too busy chasing the new brought in design. The one that tells you got to have that lavish car, that big old house. You got to be eating that. What is it? The Wagyu? Is that the supposed to be the good steak? I've heard. I don't know. Is that the most expensive steak? Okay. I don't know. I ain't got there. I don't know about that. But I've heard about it, okay? You say you don't eat that? So I don't even eat that. Because what is that? Is that really meat? No, we don't know. I don't know. But I've heard about it, But that's their new design. And they might be having new designer stuff, too. I don't know. So I'm just saying, we really bought into this idealistic, and what is the word I'm looking? Capitalism. That's where I was going. That's the new design, the capitalism. Whew. Go on, Gabby, pick up that phone. Now, Gabby, come on, Gabby. What you got to say?
I think capitalism drew from, in terms of our food systems, consumption, right? Consumption and convenience. And that's where that culture came from, because you don't have to eat, I don't even go into the nutritional guidelines from from a national standpoint, but there's a lot of things and a lot of discrepancies in that, and how we actually can live and survive and be healthy as a people without over consuming. And so when you think about just consumption in general, right? We need more, we need bigger, we need better. Yeah, that's where the capitalism comes from. So we feed into that, and people understand how to make more money, because capitalism has been around for some time. Yes, is now it's in a different form. And so how can we get the quickest thing, the fastest thing, the nicest thing, the more things? And when we can sit back and say, what do I need to support my family? What does my community need to be well? And it's very minimal. And so we have to change the narrative. The people in the room, us up here, we have to change the narrative about what it really takes for us to be healthy people, and start there.
I think this is good conversation, very good conversation. And we can talk about this all day long. I'm a doer. So what is it that we need to do to change the narrative? How do we educate? Because we can, good stuff, good conversation, but it's the action that has to occur. And so what I have discovered is that that each one of us has a part to play in the change, and that each one of us can make that difference. And so as we look at health and how food is related to health, we united our food and health ministry because we have a clear understanding now that eating processed food and fried food and all of that impacts the blood pressure and all of this other stuff. Now, we're still educating. We're still educating, and it is getting through to some, but not enough. And so I think we have a big job in, okay, what's the plan? What's the plan? Because we're very good at conceptualizing, and we're very good at telling you the story. But if we're talking about changing the narrative, and we're talking about redesigning, then there has to be a plan, and then there has to be an execution of the plan. And every one of us here are engaged in something. We really are. So how can we take what we're currently doing and make a change? And it doesn't have to be but one, you know, and each one teach one, reach one. And I'm excited about some of the changes that we have made. I get real passionate about this stuff. And my thing is we create food for the heart from the heart. And so I make sure that we love everything that we do. And I would not give the people that we serve anything that I would not eat. And so we try to do this health thing, but we do, and realizing that there was little or no access to the fresh stuff, you know, what do? We went out and bought some fresh stuff, and our program is "Oh, Taste and See that the Lord is good." And so we provide, somebody gave us a fruit stand, and we put all of this fresh stuff on there, and the community can come and they have access to it. So we have to start. I think we all know, well, maybe we don't, how it started, but it started, it happened, we know it's a problem, so now we have to fix it. So how do we do that? I met a young lady she wrote a book, and it's a farmer. She's a farmer somewhere northeast. I can't remember her name. And I was just amazed, and it's like, wow, we could buy our fruits and vegetables from her. You hit me. We could buy our fruits and vegetables from her. You know, I think one way to change things too, from an economic perspective, is those of us who may get our produce or our stuff from grocery stores or these other places.
Farmers markets or Leah, because I was just about to say, here you go, right here. Leah. Leah has a farm.
There you go. Your name, and so that's where we start.
That's what we doing, right?
Right here.
Yeah. Gabby has a farm, Fit and Food Connections. So this is where it starts. It starts in the solutions. It sounds simple, but I don't know why it doesn't happen. Ooh. You have to want to do it. And be intentional about doing it. But I feel like it's in the collaboration, in the connections, and that's key. But you have to be intentional. But what happens with that is we get the capitalism. Gabby, I'm finna go there. Leah, I'm about to go there. We get the gatekeeping, right? We get, I got it, which first of all, everybody can't feed everybody. Everybody can't touch everybody. It's too many of us that's hungry. There's too many of us eating the wrong foods, right? We got a corner store on every corner, maybe two, with a beauty supply store right across. So why can't we have community gardens on every corner? Right? Why can't we have a fruit stand on every corner? Why does it have to be one that's doing it for everybody? Because you ain't going to feed everybody. You can't feed everybody. First of all, I don't want to be touching everybody, because then that means I can't feed myself. We just go back to saying we need to slow down, right? So how do we make sure that the solution is the collaboration of, like you said, if we stop buying into the stores, because first of all, a lot of the times what's happening in these stores in our communities is the food and stuff is not fresh. So I'm not going to go get a pack of $10 strawberries that ain't going to last me but 2 days. I'm going to go buy that bag of chip or that processed meat that I could pack in the freezer. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go buy the broccoli because it's not going to last if I'm on the budget. So if I had a Leah on my corner, if I had a Gabby with her food bags, then I can go get that. So anybody want to hop in there?
So I think that's great. I think that is where we start. More community gardens, stepping into policy work, making sure that leadership is really being held accountable for the decisions that we are not at the table to make. There's so many vacant lots in the city that can be used for growing food, but it can't just be a few people advocating for that work. It has to be, you all have to want that as well. You all have to go to your alder persons and say, hey, I know about a Gabby or I know about a Leah and they're growing in their backyard. Why isn't there land available so that we can have more fresh food? She's giving it away for free. So it has to be more community input and the community really being invested in their health and what they're eating. I mean, I can force you to eat okra all day long. However, if that's not something that you are interested in growing, or you feel like I can't grow it, or I don't know what to do with it, I can't cook it. You know, there's people like Ariana that can help walk us through cooking it and preparing it. So I feel like it has to be not just us wanting community gardens, but the community speaking out and saying, yeah, we definitely need a community garden. I feel like I have a black thumb, but if there's somebody that can walk me through the process, then maybe I can grow something. And then it goes from it being a community garden to everybody on the street is growing something in their backyard or on their porch, and the community garden becomes a space to just hang out and eat and commune together. But we're all doing the work in our backyards. So yeah, community gardens, and then just being invested in being well, like Gabby is talking about.
Oh, this is good stuff. Cooking. We have a program that we have the healthy eating, and I think it begins with education, the education piece. And so what has happened, we have the healthy eating, healthy cooking, and then healthy shopping. And so they went from learning how to eat, what to eat, then how to cook it. And so one meal was deviled eggs, and tasted and it's like putting sugar in it, and they were awful. But they did it without sugar, without bacon bits, without mayonnaise, with all of that wonderful stuff, and they made it with yogurt or something like that, and they enjoyed it. And I was like, but. So they went from healthy eating, learning that, then healthy cooking, and it's a variety of things that they would cook each time. And then they went to healthy shopping. And so in going to healthy shopping, they had to read the labels. Yeah. And so rather than buy the canned green beans, They actually bought the fresh green beans. And so, good deal. But I think it begins with education. And so we have to help one another be educated on things that are killing us. And so we have found cholesterol going from 400 to 200. I mean, because we have a health ministry in which they would track the cholesterol of this, certain individuals. And because the person had changed the eating habits, then there was a change in the physical health.
Which goes back to food and health, right? What you absorb is literally causing maybe harm or causing good. Ariana, I want to bring you in here. You've been quiet. Pick up the mic. Because I want to ask you, you said something there about changing just maybe the products, the things that you're putting inside the foods to make the foods. Because she said, I've never heard of that. A deviled egg with yogurt. I don't know what... But I'm just saying, I know that there's alternatives. So, for instance, I keep it real and raw. I found, in my coffee, instead of using regular cane sugar, I now have the raw stevia sugar. The raw. I heard that was great. I don't have the other one. So just finding the substitutions of products that you can just easily change that can help make an impact. Instead of, frying your chicken, just bake it. Bake it long enough, it will be crispy, right? You put some olive oil, coat it, it'll help it be crispier. So could you talk to some of that?
There's always going to be substitutes that you can use, less sugar, less salt. I feel, so in regards to the education that we do now, so I also work with the Jackie Joyner Kersey Center. So I do food education there, but it's the type of education that we're educating on isn't really sticking. So I feel that it's still surface level education as far as how many grams of salt, sugar, things that you need to, but it's what's driving that desire, getting to the emotional and mental components of it. That really drives, that yearning towards, okay, I'm wanting more crunchy, I'm wanting the salty, I'm wanting the sugar, and really diving deep into the impact that those choices do make on mind, body, and spirit. I feel like that's what's missing to really get people to wake up. Yeah.
Yes, so everything that's been said, especially education. We do a lot of education from grocery shopping at the Save-A-Lot or the corner store, and how you prepare your food. So not necessarily like alternatives, but just the amounts, right? The amount of oil you cook with, the amount of spice, the portion size, all of those things play a part in our overall health and wellness. And so I think education is super important. But I do want to take a step back and talk about the desire and people wanting to shift and all the different factors that impact us from just living a healthier lifestyle. And so I think when we started Fit in Food, we wanted to just feed people, right? People we hungry out here. And so we give people food. But we gave people healthy food. This is this is the only option. This is the only option. You got to eat it. And so they figure it out, right? And you start to shift a culture. You start to shift a practice. And then you see people online, they're working out, they're eating healthy. People are juicing, And so it's just a matter of time for us to keep making things accessible, right? And so when you go outside and you see a community resident or community leader giving out healthy produce, and you see a person having a garden over here, and you see a person talking about nutrition, this isn't going to change overnight. And so I don't want us to get discouraged, but I do want us to continue to be in our community space, right, with the things that we know can make us well people, better people, so that then we can go a little bit deeper, right? Because we know that food and health is not one size fit all, which is what we've been kind of taught to believe, but it's all different. We can eat fruits and vegetables all day, but I have a sensitivity to certain things, and right, so that's my body and my makeup, and my experience of life and childbirth and all the things, age, being a woman, and all the other things that come with that. And so when we will and we are more in tune with ourselves and we have access and all these things around us shifting our culture to live a healthier lifestyle, then we start to think like, let's take it a little bit deeper, right? Why am I here? What is my purpose? How do I get closer to self? And you do that when you are eating and consuming things that are good for your body and your spirit, and you're moving and you're outside in a quiet, clean neighborhood. And it doesn't have to be in Frontenac or Ladue or Clayton or in Forest Park. It can be on the north side or it can be on the west side or downtown. So I think we need to continue to be out there and not get discouraged. We need to continue to share the information and say the things that we know we need to say, because all of y'all are brilliant. We all, and it's more of us, right? Like, it's so many nonprofits in St. Louis doing this work, and it's great. I think we need an agenda, but that's just my thought. But I think starting with just the access and making sure that every time you walk through North City, you're going to see a farm. You're going to see people growing stuff on their porch. You're going to see people growing stuff in their backyard. You're going to see people being in community, sharing resources and sharing food to help us get to the place that we once were, that Miss Pat was talking about, because that's all my grandma know. How to pick greens, how to chuck corn, how to boil beans. And for me, that's a blessing to experience that, but not everybody do that. So my part of my purpose is to share that experience, and I think it's in all of us for sure.
Very important. Sharing the experience is very important. At what point did we stop eating greens? At what point did we stop doing those things? So I know her, and I know her, and I know her.
Where did we stop? That's a good one. Because I'm with you, Gabby. When I think back, so like my oldest aunt, I can say I've seen her experience greens and picking greens. I've seen my grandma do that. My grandfather had a garden. No shade, but my mama, I didn't see that, So I want to take it to keep it real and raw, right? What era are we talking about when we talk about 80s and 90s? I was born in 89. What happened in that time frame where we talk about the dysfunction and the breakup of the family, right? The family unit. Talk about the crack, pandemic or whatever. All of those contribute to the breaking of who we used to be, because it just wiped away the traditions, and we didn't share the stories. We only saw, and I'm just speaking for my experience and some of the folks who I've engaged with, right? But it goes down to really breaking down that, going deep into saying, like, what was my experience? What was the trauma? What do I need to address? We have to address it. We can't just skate over it. But Leah, I know you had a lot to say. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say all of it ties together. Ariana was mentioning how in our community there is a desire, for sugar and sweetness and all the things that destroy our bodies. But what led us to those desires? And in most times it is trauma. It's past traumas that we have not faced, we haven't talked about. In the Black community, trauma is really pushed to the side. You don't talk about it. We pray and we move forward, and that's how we get through trauma. And that has perpetuated in our eating, in our lifestyles, how we show up in community, how we show up for our families, how we show up for ourselves. So with community gardens, The food is great. We'll get to the food, we'll grow all the food. But what really, or in my opinion, what initially happens when communities adopt this mindset of community and community gardens is we begin to heal together. We begin to not just use the land, but participate with the land, steward the land, and in return, we are ultimately stewarding ourselves. So we are able to show up in these communities whole, or at least healing from the past traumas that's causing us to make these decisions. Because I don't think people just want to walk around feeling sick all day. I don't think that at all. But yes, but it is a learned behavior. It is how we have coped with gun violence, with racism, with being removed from spaces that we have cultivated for years. So we are in a state of coping. So not only will a community garden produce food, but it will also, in my opinion, produce a healed or a community that is walking towards healing.
So how I view the soil is us, literally, chemically, genetically, anatomy. It's made up of the same things that we are made up of. So once we get reconnected to it through farming or through just getting acclimated back to our roots and our natural ways of living, it's a remembrance. We then remember, okay, this is where we came from, and we have a sense of pride instead of a shun and a disgust and look at it, as the land or farming as a source of trauma. So our narrative begins to shift because, things shift within us from being reconnected to that. So the soil is a major piece of the puzzle.
I just had a whole moment, y'all. Because that's why I love y'all. Because if you go deep into this, right, what you just said, right, before we were slaves, right, when we were in our land, that's what we were doing, right? But when we came here and was forced to sow the land, what you just said is we looked at it as now disgust. Now I'm not touching no land because you're not going to force me to go back to the land. Versus that ain't you. This wasn't you, right? You were brought here because of what you were capable of to do and forced to do it for another reason. Do y'all hear me? Trauma. That is trauma. I just had a whole moment. Literally, I'm not going to touch this because you forced me to touch it. So to prove to you, I dare not go back.
Yeah. I think Ariana, like when you spoke just now, what resonated with me and like what came to my mind is the self-actualization of Black people in Black communities. We are so far from, and I ain't gonna say that. I don't think we're far, I think we're very close. But it feels very far because we haven't had the time to sit with the trauma and heal and be in community and support one another in an impactful way outside of, money and social media and all the other things that kind of distract us from basics, stewarding and cultivating the land and being outdoors and grounding and sitting with ourselves to have that self-actualization to say like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be eating that. Or, yeah, I don't feel well. how do I feel better? Like, what do I need to do? And so we are so far from our self-identity and who we actually are as a people. And I think once we kind of like start to redesign and start to have more access to the gardens and the healing spaces and be in community like this, we could talk all day to 5 people, to 100 people, and the story's gonna be the same. We just want y'all to hear the message and become more self-aware of oneself so that we can do better things and be better people. You talked about like the soil and like what we're made of. If you just look at all the different fruits and vegetables, and it imitates and looks just literally like us. From all of our inside organs, fruits and vegetables, healthy, like all of these things are a part of us. And so I think it's more so just about like, how can we get more grounded in our spirituality? How can we return back to the things that are important outside of consumption, outside of more, need, capitalism, being who's known, or whatever the thing that's happening in St. Louis. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but how can we come back and recenter and really do some impactful work? I don't think it's hard. I think we just need to all get on one accord and do the thing. And we can do it in small groups. We can do it on blocks. It doesn't have to be this grand big thing, right? We just need to regain our power, and that starts with the self-actualization, right?
I just want to say something real quick. We all have truth within us. We know what's true. So in regards to people not knowing what to eat, what's good for you and what's not, we all know what's healthy and what's not. But it's returning back to truth, to source, to spirituality, and viewing that in a different lens that is all encompassing. So that's a part of, the system as well, is just, viewing things in segments and separation, but viewing things as everything is connected. This okra, this plant, is a resemblance of me, okay? How to feed this is how I should feed myself. The minerals, the nutrients, the water, it's a remembrance of us. So, remembering who we are.
Real quick, do anybody have a question? If you have a question for the panel, please write it on the sticky notes at your table. Write it on a sticky note. And can I have one of my volunteers grab those sticky notes if anyone has questions before we close out the panel conversation? But go ahead. Did you say, Gabby?
Wait, it's over? That was quick.
When you be talking, it go fast, don't it? I know, girl. I done been in spaces, we done had 2-hour conversations. I'll be like, we got to get out of here, y'all. It does. It goes by really fast because, like you said, we could talk about this all day. And we can, because there's a lot to talk about, and it's a lot. Y'all went deeper than I expected to go. But I felt that, okay? Because I think that is a lot of what's causing trauma in the Black community. And where we are now, we have really, really ran away from the experiences we've had over the years, the generations, the centuries, and we're still dealing with today. So it's heavy. I heard that. Whew.
How would I know? I wouldn't know anything about you guys. And I found out about you here. So how would I know about you? How do I know that?
Shout out to the Hood Talks podcast. I just wanted to give that out there. That's how you know. No, I'm not playing. Right? Because I agree with you, Miss Pat. I said that when I started this space. You said it, Gabby. There's so many organizations. There's so many resources. There's so many things. How do people know? That's why I created the Hood Talks podcast. That's why I have the Hood Connect. Because I keep telling people, and I'm going to keep saying it, get into the rooms. We have resources. We have people doing the work, especially in our community here in St. Louis, a lot of them. So tap in. But that is one way. And we have to share the information. Share it. If you know, I know. Go ahead.
I think that's super important. I think you talked earlier about action. I think we're all doers up here. And so a lot of times, and I can use my I voice. I could do away with like the panels and the conversations because you hear people talking a lot. And at some point we need to do the thing. We know what the problem is. We know what we're up against. What's the strategy and how do we execute? And so those are like, I think people like the folks up here were like in the field. And so it's kind of hard to stop and say like, let me advocate for this. And you all said earlier, we all have a part that we play in the ecosystem, social change, right? And some of us are on the ground. Some of us are speaking. Some of us are telling stories and sharing tradition and passing down the information. We all have a role in it. So I think that is going to be difficult, but Shavana, you have created a space, I think, for us to, continue to share resources. Even if we can't speak all the time and we can't be in these spaces, how can you still just like give a shout out to your platform and continue to do that?
Because you can't. And sometimes you just need someone to help connect you. I think so many people are trying to do, right? I didn't want to necessarily do. I wanted to connect. Because we have so many doers, right? But if you could relate to me, shout out to my community health workers, but if you could relate to me and I'm in the community with you and, like, hey, I know such and such. I know Leah got this program. I know such and such. She over here, so becomes, so you can stay where you are. And then I could be like, well, you need food. Here's these people. Here's Fit and Food Connection. Here's Leah and her farm, growing food, growing people. You know what I mean? You need help figuring out how to cook it. I need to holler at y'all because I'm still trying to figure out how to cook quinoa, and it's probably simple. But I'm sure it is. Girl, you know you on my radar. So I'm not putting no sugar. I just told her I'm addicted to sugar. She told me I put some sugar on it. Miss Pat fired. No. But I want to, so it is about like knowing what's out there. So in connecting people, sharing the resources. But I agree with you. I said that too. And we're going to get into that. But I said that too, Gabby. And I want to reiterate that too. I agree. We have so many people talking. We have so many panels. And we have so many spaces, right?
Yes, we do. And so, however, there's people that have been doing this work for a really long time, right? And so we got to stop recreating things and look at the spaces that hold resources. Who is already having a panel? Who already has a podcast? Who has a pantry? Who does this? Who does that? How can we expand on that? What region is it in? What we can get so micro. What block? What intersection? Does that block have a garden? Who's leading this? Like, there's so many ways we can easily be strategic as just people in our neighborhood where, we can take back the power from the people that had the power.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation, Lord. And we would be here all night, y'all, if we go through that conversation. Because, Lord, it's just, and that is what does us disjustice every time. So, 2 questions, and then I'm assuming this is a 1 question, but it looks like 3 parts. So it looks like three questions. Okay, I just saw the question marks. Yes, it's 1. You want me to run it down? This is you. I should have known. I should have known. Shout out to IHN in the building. I should have known. Would you say healing is the first step? If yes, what does your healing process look like? What got you on your journey to healthy eating? Anybody want to answer that?
Something has to happen. There's something that has to happen in order for us to, there's an act and a reaction. That's what I've experienced. When we do health testing and people find out that blood pressure is 2,000 over 4,000, I made up those numbers, you know. But when they find out they have high blood pressure, they go into a panic state. And so it's like, what do I do? What? And so then we have this educational piece. And like I said, with the lady with the cholesterol going from 400 to 198 or something like that, something happened for her to do something. And I keep praying all day long that I don't eat all this sugar because diabetes runs in my family. But I'm not sick yet. And so something, and I'm going to do better, but something would have to happen. I mean, there's an action and there's a reaction, and we respond to that. And I think Leah was talking about trauma. There's something that happened that caused me to do whatever it is I do. That's how I view it.
I think that's one of the biggest ones, is the trauma. And I would say for me, in the healing, it did start in the healing. It started in the self-reflection, which is sometimes hard to do. How am I showing up versus the outside? We love to point fingers quickly about what people have done to us, which I understand, but we have to start saying, what are we doing to ourselves? Yeah, what are we doing to ourselves, Leah?
Gonna say, when you ask, do you start healing first? Is this before you start growing food, or? No, I would say you start growing food first, and then the healing will come, in my opinion. When I started farming, I didn't know that I needed to be healed. But then as the time passed and I started finding out new things and I started wanting to be dirty a lot more, I realized that there was a calling that was happening, and that's when the healing started taking place. So I would say start first.
Okay. Last question, and then I want you all one by one as quickly as possible, because we have an activity. I know they're giving out the survey. Shout out to my folks. But we have an activity, group activity that I want you all to do. This is the call to action. So don't get too excited to leave. But talk about empowering people to make choices. Food is tied to being in control or lack of it. I think it was almost a statement, but it says, talk about empowering people to make choices. Food is tied in control. They're saying like it's either tied to being in control or the lack of it. So.
Empower you to grow your food and to eat healthy. You will die if you don't. And hopefully that is empowering. You have to make better choices. We, as Black people, we have to make better choices when it comes to our health. Blood pressure, diabetes, we just don't have a choice. We don't have a choice in the matter. So that was probably kind of blunt.
It was,
cold,
but we keep it real and raw.
But it's the truth. It was definitely real and raw.
But we need the truth. Goes back to we can't keep hiding behind soft.
Yeah, and it's killing us. I mean, you walk around feeling sick,
tired
all day.
Jesus.
And you know, we can take that power and that control back by growing our own food and just taking steps to eating better. And I am addicted to sugar too. I love cookies. I love cake. I had 3 pieces of that chocolate, that dark chocolate up there.
It was dark chocolate.
Yeah, but still, it's loaded with sugar. So, you know, it's just different choices that we have to make. And I know from experience that you can change your palate. You can, although you grew up eating all these horrible things, you can change your mind and you can change what you eat.
So in going back to just starting where you're at, you don't necessarily have to be forced to change out of fear, but out of love. So personally speaking, out of my journey, what transitioned me to be plant-based, whole food vegan, I wasn't sick. I wasn't diagnosed with a disease or a diagnosis. It was, piggyback off of Leah, it was literally a shift within me and a remembrance that this is how I should be living. I should be eating more natural foods that come from the earth. And remembering my culture and my heritage too, that has a big part of it as well. So being in alignment, and you will start to notice, and once I start to change how I ate, it definitely did change my entire life. Getting rid of the dairy, the meats, the cheeses, things that are heavy, you feel lighter. So that way you're able to receive everything. So in regards to what I do right now, it was a dream before. So I had to cleanse, I had to detox. I talk about the art of detoxification. If you want to welcome in the new, you have to cleanse away the old to welcome in the new. So that starts with the food, or that starts with the environment, that starts with the thought patterns, that starts with the emotions, releasing toxic and trapped emotions. It's a holistic approach, but it does start with releasing, realizing that there has to be, that there is weight. You do feel weight all over. So just reminding that it doesn't have to come from fear to change, but love.
I like the thought of starting with love. There's a phrase or like a meme I saw that said, love yourself enough to change. Don't hate the way you look, the way you feel to, bring about change. Love yourself enough to know that I need to do better and I need to be a better person. It doesn't mean more. It doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean great. That's the culture around us. But how can we love ourselves enough to want to be better people? I think it definitely starts, I think it's layers. I think it's a bunch of different ways that you can start and be in this space of your own unique power. But the things that are around you, which have been designed that way, urban design, urban planning, it's all happening downtown. What the city's going to look like in 10 years, what the city's going to look like next year. So how can we create our own communities that illustrate a well environment so that that's all we have access to is to be well, right? How can we eliminate the things in our home, right? My children will have a better relationship with food. So yes, things taste bad, but that's because you're used to having something else that tastes a certain way. We don't buy certain things. And so that's all they know is what they have access to. And so all we have access to is alcohol, fast food, prepackaged food, and snacks. That's what's going to taste good to us. We can eliminate that. We can develop and create self-sustaining food systems for our neighborhoods so that we can continue to shift our relationship with food.
Ariana said, I like what you said, not out of fear, but out of an awareness. That's awareness is very good. And then begins the change. And you make the choice.
Yeah. And give yourself grace. I'm giving myself grace. I personally am on this journey myself. So I'm giving myself grace every day. And it starts with something small. It starts with the small changes. Right now, I'm more intentional about including a salad and not just a salad with all the dressing on it either, but I'm including lettuce and salad, into every meal. So there's more greens there. You know what I mean? So just give yourself grace and know that you didn't get where you are in one day, and it's not going to change in one day either. But just taking one step at a time and finding the spaces to be in to help you make that change. Okay, so one last thing, and we're going to wrap this up, y'all. Where can people find you all if they want to tap in?
You can follow us on socials at Fit and Food Connection. That's Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We also have a website, and you can join a mailing list. Small changes make big results. Consistency is key, and make up your mind that you want to be a part of this journey with us, even if you're not from our neighborhoods and where we live. Just, the more the merrier.
All hands on deck.
You can read me at church. You can. I am at Centennial Christian Church, 4950 Fountain Avenue. Yes. I know these are our parting words, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is it, love.
It's
for the people
love.
who watching, yes.
Yes. I thank your panelists. This has been an educational experience for me, and I look forward to collaborating with these ladies.
The Hood Connect. Collaboration is key. Collaboration
Hello.
is key.
All right. You can find me Instagram at ancient_healing_roots, or Facebook at Ariana Blakemore. My website is ancienthealingroot1word.com. And my departing words are family, community. That heals everything beyond food. Community and connectivity. That should be the top of our list.
You can find me at Growing Food, Growing People on all socials. My website is www.gfgp-stl.com. And my parting word will be freedom.
Freedom. I just want to say I saw that on your arm, and it's just trust the journey. That's my parting word. All right, y'all. Thank you again for tuning in to the Hood Talks podcast. As you all know, we're going to keep doing this. We are live on site at the Hood Connect. Shout out to the Trolley Room in Forest Park. We are here doing the Social Determinants of Health series. Join us at one of our in-person events. Again, shout out to the collaboration. Shout out to WashU, IHM Moms Group, and all of the great folks, Healthy Blue, who sponsored this. We appreciate you all. And on that note, we out. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and also follow us on all our social media. And you can find all of that information at www.thehoodtalks.com.